Welcome, welcome teachers to another very special Wellness Wednesday session. Most of you know me by now. I am Aditya, of course, and you've been seeing my face diligently at least on a single Wednesday every month for the last couple of months now. And of course, I have a very special guest with me today. And I hope many of you have been putting into practice some of the things that we discussed. If you have, we'd love to hear it on the chat. Simple things that you have been doing since the last session, or maybe even from previous Wellness Wednesdays. We'd love to know that it is helping all of you, because that is really why we are doing these sessions. Because we know in all the struggles that we endure during the day and all the challenges that we face, it's sometimes difficult to put ourselves first and to think about ourselves. But Wellness Wednesday sessions are a reminder to all of us that the teachers, the teaching community has to take charge of their own wellness and well-being. And so that's why we have these sessions every month. Good evening to all of you. Nice to see some of your responses in the chat. So before we kickstart the session, a couple of things that I'd like us to remember as we begin this particular Wellness Wednesday session. Of course, we always begin all our sessions with some routines, and this session is no different. So you'll see that there is actually 3 steps almost to one of the routines that we'll follow. As you all know, this is a webinar, and therefore many of you are behind the scenes. We can't see some of you. Therefore, if there are people here who would like to be on camera while we have the session, then please do raise your hand, and someone from the team will help move you into the panelist section of this webinar so that you can be on camera. So if you're comfortable and would like to be on camera during the session, please do use the raise hand feature, and we will ensure that we move you to the panelist room. But also a reminder that we love to see your faces, but because of various disruptions that can come because of the noise, the backgrounds around us, etc., we would request you that once you do join, to please do stay on mute, unless we do have some questions that we'd like to ask you or invite you to share your thoughts and responses. Another great way for you to share your thoughts, ideas, questions is to use the chat box. The chat box is where many of you have already been typing a lot of things. We'd invite you to keep adding in your thoughts and ideas as they come up. There is a separate Q&A button as well, question and answers. So if you have specific questions that you would like us to address based on the things you are hearing, then please do type in your questions as well, and we'll try and answer as many as we can, either during the session or at the end. And of course, all Chrysalis teachers know that we are big believers in smart note-taking. So there will be a lot of valuable points being discussed during the webinar today. Please do note down the things that you think are important for you, that you would like to share with your fellow teachers as well, or maybe even your family members. So let's make use of all these routines, and I look forward to the next 1 hour with all of you. Just another quick reminder that when we sent out the invitation to all of you, we had a special request. It may have been an unusual request. Usually we ask you to maybe eat a little bit before the session or to wear special kind of clothing. This time we had a unique home fun for all of you, and that was to come prepared with a leaf. And so I hope all of you have come with a leaf. I have brought a leaf that I found near our office. Chitra has one herself. In fact, this is a very unusual leaf because it's not exactly what you think of when you think of a leaf. So, and it's also representative of maybe a new leaf, figuratively, that we are maybe embarking on as we explore the power of mindfulness. Maybe there'll be a new way of looking at how you want to do tasks, a new way of starting your mornings or ending your days. So it could be all about new beginnings. So I think the leaf is a very promising representation of that. And now for the reason why we are all gathered over here. We said a session on the power of mindfulness. And to facilitate that session, we have a very special guest with us today. Last year, if for those of you who are here during our Wellness Wednesday session, the founder and CEO of Chrysalis, Chitra Ravi, facilitated a session on gratitude and the importance of gratitude in our lives. And there's actually going to be quite a lot of strong connects to that in this session as well, I believe. So there's a reason why Chitra has also made herself present here today, and the reason why I asked her to take this session, because apart from being the founder and CEO of Chrysalis, there's a new title that I am now adding on to her, and that is one of mindfulness mentor.
Sure, Aditya, first of all, my gratefulness to you for inviting me. I know that you thoroughly enjoyed the session that we had with the Chrysalis team, and I'm very grateful for that. And of course, grateful for all the enthusiastic participants who are here. I'm sure after an exhausting day teaching and, working with your children, etc. So I want to start with a big note of heartfelt gratitude, and thanking you for the opportunity to meet you all and do this very special session, which is very close to my heart. I think education has always been close to my heart. 20 years since I founded Chrysalis, and we have a beautiful team and lovely teachers who are a part of our community. But more recently, the answering your question, I would say the past 5-6 years, I have been also practicing a few, I would call them spiritual practices. I mean, they are obviously not necessarily religious practices, but they are spiritual practices. I wake up very early in the morning. I spend some time on reflection, meditation, journaling. And all these made a lot of transformation in my life. I know that at Chrysalis, we all speak about transformation day in, day out, but I could see a personal transformation in me after starting to practice. Running an organization in education is not a very easy thing. And but I felt that the last 5-6 years, none of the external environmental challenges, as we may call it, really pose a threat to my stress or whatever you can call it, right? So for me, this experience made me go deeper into what are these simple practices doing to me. And I started exploring this a bit. And then I also had an opportunity 2016 to go and be in a Zendo, a Zen space for about 4 days in complete silence. And that, I would say, again, changed my life big time. And I started looking at how I can make mindfulness a part of my life. And more recently, I always hesitate to, I would say, transfer some experiences in a very authoritative way, because some of these really needs you to hold a conviction on, are you walking the talk? Do you have a research base to really communicate all this? So the hesitation was there, but a mindfulness mentor is awesome. I hope I'm able to live up to the title, Aditya.
Sure you will, because as someone who's been also seeing you and privy to what you do, I can say that I know that you walk the talk when it comes to really trying to imbibe the things that you will be sharing with all the teachers here. So I'm very happy and grateful that you could also be sharing this with teachers. So over to you, Chitra.
Very important statement you should see here, that one can only predict 10% of factors, that contribute to long-term happiness. 90% of this is predicted by how your own brain processes the world. For example, I can look at this leaf, right? This is a situation or an object or whatever, right? And my brain processes and says, wow, this is such a beautiful leaf. This is such a beautiful device, right? And I'm processing, my brain is processing it and giving me a kind of a emotion. The same leaf or the same device, when somebody else sees, can say, I hate this. their brain processes it as this not pleasant. It may be back to your memories. It may be that I somehow don't like. Let's talk about pets. In the same family, you will have someone who can just go and hug any dog on the street. And there would be some people in the family saying, hey, I just don't bring this animal close to me, right? So it is always about how your brain processes the world. So all I want to bring out here is the fact that it is your choice ultimately and how you connect to the brain on whether you want happiness to be you, or you really can say, I'm not at all happy in this world. And you can find an excuse to say why you're not happy in this world. So I think there's a very important part and a context for what I'm going to talk about in the mindfulness as a concept. So what is mindfulness? How many of you here have really heard about this term mindfulness or have practiced mindfulness? Can you quickly, I don't know how you take that poll, Adi, but I'm just wondering how many out of the hundreds here have heard. There are a few who are raising their hands. So possibly they have heard about this concept, or some of them have also practiced mindfulness. So let me tell you what mindfulness is all about. Mindfulness means paying attention to what's happening in the present moment. What is happening in the present moment? I'm speaking, all of you are listening, all of you are also thinking about, what I'm speaking. Some of you, maybe you're here, but attending a phone call or messaging someone as you're listening to me, or possibly switched this on and gone to do something in the kitchen or in your staff room, right? You're not really paying attention to what's happening in the present moment. Your sensory organs are all, everywhere. But when you say mindfulness, you're saying bringing all your senses to pay attention to what's happening in the present moment. In the mind, taking all the concept, body, probably looking into my eyes and also looking at how your body is relating to this concept, and the environment with an attitude of curiosity and kindness. Many times when we are focusing on something, we become very judgmental. Let's take a small example. All of us, I think, when we wake up in the morning or when we are getting ready to go to school, go to work, we all look at the mirror, right? And maybe you look at the mirror, look at yourself in the mirror in a very keen manner, in a very observant manner, ensuring that you look good, or, you've combed your hair well, or you're presentable when you're going for an important meeting or to the school after a long holiday. You may be at the present moment, but at the same time, your mind is clouded because you're constantly comparing that image with how you looked 10 years ago, or comparing it to somebody else in your community saying, oh, I don't think I look as good as that person. There is a lot of judgment that starts coming. So that's why mindfulness is when you're in the present moment, uncorrupted by any judgment. It is about kindness. And in this case, my example that I gave you about looking at the mirror mindfully and being in the present moment, it is about being kind to yourself. No judgment. Look at it as if you were looking at something afresh, with curiosity, right? With a smile, with kindness. That is what mindfulness is about. We're going to do a lot more analysis of what mindfulness is, but this is good for a start, right? So Aditya had, I think, insisted or told you all that you need to bring a leaf to the session. There's a reason. I'm sure all of you would raise your hand if I said, have you seen a leaf? But we are asking seen. We have the quotes there because we really want you to see a leaf. So if you have the leaf, is anybody on camera? I saw a few hands raised, so I'm not sure if you're on camera.
Yeah, a few are joining now.
Okay, great. So if I can see a few, I'd like you to show the leaf that you have with you. I have my leaf. I think Adi also has his leaf. And leaves are so different, right? One tree ka leaf is not at all like the other, another species of leaf. Take the leaf now, and you're going to really be in the present moment awareness, looking at the leaf. What are your senses? Your eyes. So you're going to look at the leaf, look at the color, the gradients of the color, look at whether the leaf looks tired, withered. Is it looking fresh? Is it looking curiosity? We said, right? Mindfulness is always present moment with curiosity. Look at it curiously. Have I seen this before? Do I know the name for it? Does it look like another leaf that I'm very familiar with? How do you think the tree of this leaf will look? Is it from a big tree or a small plant? How old is this leaf? Are there veins? Is there anything unique that I'm seeing in the veins? Do they look like they are going to be, pakka, or are they going to fall off? These are all from your eyes, your sensory organ called the eye. You can also use your nose. How does it smell? Actually, this leaf smells very different and very nice. I don't know the name of the leaf. I have to ask Aditya. He gave me this leaf.
You have a eucalyptus, I think.
Eucalyptus? No, I don't think so. Yeah, possibly a variant.
Mm.
So it smells, and I can really, feel a freshness getting into me. I feel very grateful for smelling this leaf. That's giving me a nice feel. Right? Touch it. Touch your leaf. See if it's like rough, smooth. Is it like mine is actually a little dry, so it's actually a little brittle, I would say. It's not soft. It's a bit dry. So I think, I got to be careful with it. Otherwise, yeah, Priya says hers is soft. So you can also feel it, right? You can also feel it. You, with the touch, you have smelled it. You have seen it. Maybe you can also see if there is some little noise or, a little leaf. Do they leaf really make noise? Maybe with the wind, they will, right? Have you all seen a leaf like that, like this, the way we did it now? Yeah, Pinky Nahata says she can, really feel a whisper. Now I'm asking you the question again. How many months or years back have you really seen a leaf like this? Can somebody say? I hadn't seen a leaf for like so many years. When the last time I saw it during a session, I really started thinking, oh my God, I have a rooftop garden. I admire my trees. I'm so happy being there. But I haven't really spoken to a leaf like this, looking at it in admiration, in curiosity, with kindness. And ultimately, I can also say, I'm so grateful for this nature's beauty, right? This is present moment awareness. We did a small exercise now. It's a present moment awareness that you have done with kindness, smile, and curiosity. Did you see how curious you were to see, oh, do I see the veins? Do they have a pattern? Are they making anything, are they different? Are both the leaves having the same pattern? You can go into curiosity. You can go into understanding this deeper and deeper. This is a 1 or 2 minute of mindfulness practice that you actually do. And you can do this with any object, right? You can do this with a flower. You can do this with anything. I mean, it could even be like a device, because mindfulness brings in gratitude. Mindfulness brings in wonderment. Sometimes in the busyness of life, in the stress of our life, we forget wonderment. We forget being thankful. Wonderment and gratitude are two emotions that can really make us younger, more energetic, more full of life, you know. So when I say, have you seen a leaf? It actually means present moment awareness with kindness and curiosity or wonderment. I hope you all like this exercise, and you can try this at dinner time or before dinner time with your family. You know, you can do this on a Sunday before breakfast. Ask your family members to bring your leaf. Children will love this. You know, it's only the older people like us, adults, who will be like, oh, what is the big deal? I'm wasting my time looking at a leaf, right? But children love it. So try this exercise with your children at home. Try to see if they are able to come out with, you know, a nice responses to the questions I just asked you. Add more questions, and then you will see what really a present moment awareness is, right? So that's one exercise. You can note this down. And now, why are we here talking in our on our Wellness Wednesday session about about mindfulness? Because there are proven benefits of mindfulness scientifically. Today, there is so much research on mindfulness that has scientifically, you know, science has told us that mindfulness has immense benefits, giving us a lot of things in our life which we would otherwise miss. If you look at this graph, this is, of course, the human, you know, the brain and the domains and, you know, the human, the benefits here we are talking about. It helps you with sharper focus, right? You can see that the focus that you gave on this leaf, you would have never given it otherwise, right? Sharper focus. Leading to this mindfulness also leads to better health, more awareness about yourself. So you're able to see what exactly is happening with your emotions, with your body. You feel more connected, and that gives you happiness. It improves your immunity. I think with the COVID, there is so much talk about immunity today, right? We saw what a havoc this dreaded virus created for the human race, and we're still coming out. So that's a reminder. Please don't miss out the mask. I'm not wearing it because I'm alone in this room, but try to keep, you know, mask yourself. That's the last resort we all have as an individual, as the world is opening up. Immunity. Mindfulness is proven that one's body's immunity really is boosted. Stress, like I told you in the beginning, I was telling Aditya when he asked me, why did you choose to certify yourself at mindfulness? I started experiencing that I was happier most of the time. I was not unduly under stress and anxiety and all of that because of my practices. And I thought, why not share this with other people, you know, who are all, even young people today, 20s and teenagers, we are seeing they're constantly under duress and stress, right? They're so anxious, one after another, one exam after another, one relationship after another, always. And social media is only, you know, increasing this stress. You see something on Instagram and you're like, oh my God, she's having a beautiful life. I'm not having such a good life. And then there is a jealousy. There are many, many negative emotions that come in, and the stress goes up and up. So this is a way to relieve ourselves from stress and leading to higher performance. One of the reasons that, you know, I have been talking about mindfulness in Chrysalis, and we are going to take this up in a big way in Chrysalis, is because we want to perform better as an organization. We want to really help all our schools do better. And for that, we need to become, you know, transformed. And this is what you see as the benefits. And these are all not just out there. They're all proven by science and research, right? So what are the obstacles to mindfulness? So you can say, oh, there's so many benefits. But what is the obstacle? There are many, many, many obstacles to mindfulness. That's the problem. Today, if I tell you, come and sit and listen to me, you know, half the time our mind is not with the person who's talking to you. 80% of the time, why even 50%? 80% of the time, when somebody is talking to me, my mind is thinking about either the past. Oh my God, I forgot this. I have to email someone. I have to prepare this lesson plan. I have to do this, do that. Or it is about the future. Oh my God, what will happen to my job? What will happen to my tomorrow? I don't know. There's so much anxiety. So many such things, right? So we become restless. We are many times in doubt. Do I do well? Am I able to teach well, etc.? Distractions. I think we can easily say that every day we have more and more distractions coming our way. I think technology is giving us a lot of distractions. As I'm talking to you, actually, I can see my phone is buzzing. At least 5 calls and 10 messages have come. So for me, it'll just, the distraction can be, hey, okay, I'll take a pause and secretly look into my phone, right? That's what we are doing. So mindfulness ensures that we don't do that. Judgments, bias. I'm looking at, okay, Chitra has come. She's talking about mindfulness. I can start feeling a negative bias. Oh, I don't think all this will really work. This is all crap. This mindfulness and all is some theory that somebody is telling us. This is not going to work. These are all judgments. We don't want to listen non-judgmentally. Listen, assimilate, then go and do your own research. But as we are sitting, I see that even when Chrysalis comes to a school, right? Oh, all this won't work. We bring something, oh, this won't work. It is so tedious. Our children will not like it. Our children are not like Chennai children. Then Chennai children will say, no, 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 this is too much, too less, so many judgments. Then you lose focus on listening. So the fact that you've come to this Wellness Wednesday, giving 1 hour of your time, when you come and say, hey, next 1 hour, I'm going to be mindfully involving and participating in this session. I'm not going to be pulled and pushed, but we don't do that. And that's what we mean by multitasking. We think we can multitask all the time. I'm going to talk more about it. We think that as I'm speaking to you, I can sneak into my phone and look at the messages and respond also, because that's also important for me. This is also important for me. This multitasking is the biggest obstacle to mindfulness. And of course, I already spoke about it. Technology and its distractions are the most important obstacle in today's, right? I mean, it's as big as this rock that you see, that you cannot travel beyond the rock in your journey towards mindfulness. Now, we should also remember that most of the time during the day, even when you're during your teaching, your professional work, our brain gets into autopilot, right? And there is also a reason for this. Earlier days, ancient man, when we were all underdeveloped, the ancient Stone Age man, you can say, they constantly had to fight or fly away, right? Flight or fight, as we say. Suddenly they are in the forest, an animal comes, some huge stone falls off. So their brain is constantly, tuned to a fight or flight. Should I save myself? Is there a threat for me? And that has continued to remain in our brain. That's the problem. So we are also constantly on an autopilot mode. What does it mean? It means I have a bath every day. I think you all have a bath every day, maybe twice a day. But how many of us have a bath mindfully? Most of the time, at least 80% of the time, your bath is on autopilot mode. Maybe maximum you will look at whether the heat of the water is fine, right? Can your body take the temperature? But we are not mindfully having a bath. We are not experiencing the water touch our body. How is my skin feeling? Am I giving a good scrub to every part of my body? Am I enjoying and experiencing the bath? Can I close my eyes and pour some water, And it need not be the way I'm speaking. You shouldn't think, oh, that will take half an hour to have my bath. No, even if it's a 5-minute bath. And most of us have 5 to 10 minutes bath every day, right? Can you do that in terms of a present moment awareness and not autopilot? What does it mean, autopilot? Quickly have a bath. Even if you're going to sit there for 10 minutes, you're not in the act. You're thinking about, hey, I have to, which sari should I wear today? Right? Or I'm thinking about, oh, did I switch off the cooker before I came into the bathroom? I can hear my phone ringing. Maybe I have to rush and get the phone. I can hear some noise at the neighbors. What are they trying to say? We are constantly distracted, and autopilot mode, we finish our bath and come out. Maybe you won't have a bad bath. Maybe you'll clean yourself up well because you are doing it autopilot. You know, your hand, even without you knowing, takes the soap, scrubs it, puts the water. I'm sure we don't come out of our bath without pouring the water and wiping ourselves, right? That is autopilot. You don't come out halfway with the soap on, right? But are you in the present moment awareness? Are you focusing on that act? When you're cooking, are you cooking with the full love and attention and what recipe you are doing? Unless you're doing something new, you won't do that. My regular sambar and rasam, I know where the salt is. You're not focusing. I can see many of you say, true, ma'am. That's so nice, because I know we are all, I mean, even I slip into it. I'm slowly trying to learn to have these practices. This is the autopilot mode we are in. And many times it's not just about bathing and cooking. It is even taking decisions for life. If you're not cultivating the mindfulness, you're just going and crossing the road. You're not wearing your mask. You're not, you just go in life. Yeah, I have to go and today teach. I know this lesson. For the past 5 years, I've been a 5th standard math teacher. What is new? I just go teach, etc. So can you move to become aware of every moment? Enjoy. How to stop this is the biggest question. How do you conquer this obstacle of autopilot mode, right? There are many ways. I'm going to probably share a few ways that you can really practice mindfulness. So how do we practice mindfulness and conquer the autopilot mode? That is what is going to be your biggest takeaway today. How do we practice mindfulness? One is informal practice, right? The bathing example I gave you, or a driving example, when you're driving, when you're, brushing your teeth, when you are eating, right? When you're walking, can you be in present moment awareness? How many of us here really brush our teeth in present moment awareness? Autopilot? How many of us walking from one end of the road to the other end of the road? Can we focus and try? And some examples that can trigger this or make you do this is, try to brush your teeth with the non-dominant hand. If you are a right-hander and you use your right hand to brush your teeth, start trying brushing your teeth with your left hand. You become more conscious, right? Because you're not used to it.
I'd like to share an example, Chitra, here.
Yeah. Adi, am I still visible? I'm not able to see the presentation. So it says, okay, I got it. Yeah.
So when to all the teachers here, when Chitra facilitated the session for us, for a few of us here in the office, one of the activities we did was mindful eating. And in each of our tables, we received a bowl of something that we had to eat. And really eat it mindfully, which meant that, close our eyes, take it in, really try and understand the different flavors, etc. Now, when the bowl arrived at my table, my initial reaction was, oh God, because anyone who knows me knows that I like many things, but one of the things I don't like is raisins. Or these dried grapes, and the bowl was full of raisins. And so I initially dismissed it and I said, oh God, this is going to be a difficult exercise. But I kind of told myself, no, give it the mindfulness moment that this raisin deserves. And I tried it, and the initial shock wore off quickly, because I suddenly began to understand the complexity of something as small and as simple as a raisin. And it really got me started on this thought process that how many opportunities are we missing because we are not mindful? I may have dismissed the raisin for the rest of my life. But thanks to a little focused moment of being in the present and spending quality time with this raisin, I started developing a new understanding for this little thing. So I imagine that doing any of these informal practices, no matter how small or simple they are, could lead to larger questions or deeper understanding.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Adi, for sharing that, because I know I experience such things every day, right? Because you're putting your mind to it. You are even eating, like even eating a meal, not just a raisin, right? Sometimes you're not even aware of what all you ate. After you eat, you ask someone, what did you have for lunch? I think I had this. I don't know how much I ate. And this is also a reason for overeating or undereating, because you're not allowing your body to sense how much your body really needs. Many times, autopilot mode, you have lunch and then you come back and say, I think I ate too much. I'm not comfortable. Or you say after 1 hour, I think I'm hungry. Maybe I didn't eat properly, right? This is because you have not had that meal with present moment awareness. So I think this is a very, very important aspect. Thanks, Adit, for sharing that. I'm sure I request each one of you to start trying such things, right? When you're walking, experience how the breeze is coming on your face. Are you sweating? Is your body becoming tired? At what point is your leg really aching? Or, are you carrying? Sometimes I see people carrying baggages, and it's actually a metaphor of carrying baggages in our life, full of worries, full of anxiety, full of future, and you're so clouded. So I think this is a very, very important practice of practicing present moment awareness. You have a baby at home, try to give your attention to the baby. You have an old person at home, your old parents, grandparents, try to look at them with wonderment, be with them. When you're talking to them, don't pick up the phone, and neither are they happy, nor are you relishing that relationship. Yeah. So that's the summary of this. You can also do a lot of formal practice. Meditation is one form of mindfulness practice where you close your eyes and, I'm going to do a small, I don't know if I have the time, but I can give you a small experience of what I think is a very good formal practice. So all of you, if you're sitting down, preferably sit down, don't lie down, or don't get up. It's going to be difficult. Sit down, close your eyes, relax your shoulders, because many times we have very rigid shoulders, we keep it very erect, but be alert, don't relax or, fall off. Stand, sit properly, but don't sit uncomfortably, and slowly focus on your breath, right? Just focus on your breath. See how you're inhaling and how your chest or abdomen is rising up as you inhale. Also now notice how you are exhaling. As you exhale, is your abdomen going in? Is your chest going in? Are you able to hear any sound? Or is it shaky? Is the breath relaxed? Do that a few sets. Say 5 or 6 breathing. Don't consciously take deep breaths. Just let it be. Just notice your breath. Observe your breath. See if you can hear any outside noises. But is there a calm inside you? And slowly come back and open your eyes. I did a very, very small, because I know there's only 10 minutes for our webinar and I don't want to hold you all for too long, but try this We can maybe one day do a longer session on just the breath, but this is just an example of a formal mindfulness practice, right? Take some time in the morning or evening, or you sit and you can say, okay, now I'm going to, and this is not more than 3 minutes or 4 minutes to start with. Just set yourself a timer and say, I'm going to set myself for 5 minutes and I'm going to sit and notice my breath. This one cycle of breath, noticing, observing, is a tremendous experience. See, already people have, Anita has said, I felt very peaceful. This is a brilliant, when you are going to a stressful interview or you're going to take a big class, try this for 2 minutes. Or as teachers, all of you, before you start a class, do this with your children. 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. Do this with your children in class. And you will see that the attention of your children, your stress levels, everything comes to a balance. Yeah. Now that is a formal practice, and we saw some informal practice, but I know many of you feel like, oh my God, 24 hours in a day is not enough, especially with the COVID and online classes and all of that. And Chrysalis also comes and tells me, I have one session, I have a PD, I have some lesson plans, you have to learn to use the technology and all of that, right? I feel like I'm working 26 hours, 30 hours a day. Many of you are feeling this. I'm sure if I ask you to raise your hands, there will be 80% of people who say, I wish I had more time. I feel I'm already working 26 hours a day. See, already people have started raising their hands now. Why do we do this? Because of this, our enemy called multitasking. I'm deliberately calling it an enemy because we all think we can multitask. And we take pride in it. I used to do that, right? I used to take pride in the fact that, hey, you know what? As I'm getting my kids ready for school, I can handle 3 phone calls. And my father will say something, my mother will say something. I can manage all of that. Somebody will ask me for a phone number, I can say it. And you start taking pride on that, right? Oh, I can multitask. But the bad news, or rather the real news, is that multitasking is not an effective thing to do. I want to do an exercise with you. Now, all of you in your mind, or if you have somebody next to you, you say A to Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and you let's see how many seconds it takes. $18 seconds, 20 seconds, you're done. 26 letters of the English alphabet. You've done it in, let's say, 18 seconds. Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask you to say 1 to 26. 1, 2, 3, 4. $19 seconds now, 20 seconds, 18 seconds. Okay, now comes the real challenge. Okay, now I want you to say A1, B2, C3, D4, continue. Now, how many of you have given up? Oh, I don't think I can do this. Aditya has given up. Others will be like, do you think you can do this in 19 plus 19 or 20 plus 20, 40 seconds or 20 seconds? No way. Why? Yeah, I've already started getting no. I also gave up, Pinky says. Preeti says it's difficult. Yeah. Why? Because your brain has conflicting dissonances coming, right? When it's A to Z, yeah, somebody's saying they're even tired doing this. Why doesn't this work? This is an example. It's a very small example of multitasking. Asking your brain to do 2 different things together, right? Each task that we do is actually a unique project that requires a separate focus. A to Z, I know it, I have practice, and I have to focus. If you ask me to read something, I can read now. If you ask me to read and sing and listen to something, that needs a separate focus, right? You cannot do that. Switching quickly between tasks comes at a cost. What is the cost you're paying? you know about the neurons, right, in our brain. The neural resources starts depleting. It gets totally chaotic, and that leads to you feeling exhaustion. And you think, I can cook and get my lesson plan ready, speak to someone on the phone, and the morning I'm multitasking all the time. I think that is the biggest lesson we all have to learn, that the brain evolves at its own pace, and you cannot interfere and interrupt and try to put something out there. So one of the things that you're going to take back today and try from tomorrow is focus on a particular task. Simple things. Suppose you are talking to, let's say you're talking to your colleague and you're getting a call or you're getting a message. Our usual tendency is to talk and look at the message and thinking that, yeah, you continue and you start messaging the other person. That's multitasking leading to fatigue. What can you do instead? Tell the person you're talking to, if you really have to look at the message, probably you are expecting a important message from someone. Tell this person, hey, just give me a minute. I'll come back to you. I want to check my phone and come back, right? Or the other option is keep your phone away and tell your mind, right now, I'm not going to be worried about what message comes. I'm going to talk to this person. This is a simple, I would say, a malady or a panacea for moving away into mindfulness. For a teacher, what can mindfulness look like? Active listening, be it to your student or to your co-teacher, or when your children want to raise your hand, actively listen to their body language. When you're lesson planning, even if it's 15-20 minutes, if you're able to do it mindfully, you're done with it. But if you're trying to do too many things, you're not going to be excelling in any of it. Mindful facilitation. Going to class, tell yourself, next 40 minutes, next 35 minutes, I'm going to be focusing on this lesson with nothing else. Right now, I came from a meeting. Till 4:45 today, I've been having meetings. Then I told myself, 4:45 to 5, I'm going to sit, relax, because I have this wonderful session with so many lovely teachers. I told myself, I'm going to keep my phone away. I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to Aditya. I'm going to look at my presentation. I'm going to fully involve myself in the session. When you do that, you're not going to feel tired. At the end of this 1 hour, I don't even feel like I've spoken for 1 hour, right? So these are very, very important things, especially for teachers, because when you are mindful, you're going to create a lot more joy with your students, right? So here again, just reiterating on the benefits, mindfulness gives us an attitude of calm, kindness, open-mindedness, and actually makes you smile all the time. A lot of people ask many of the Chrysalians, how are you all smiling? It's not like we don't come across challenges at work. It's not like we are not having too much to do. But I think it means that we are doing it with a lot of joy and kindness to ourselves, being kind to yourself. Yeah, I think I want to end this with, telling you that don't give excuses. I don't have time to do all this. Oh, it's so boring. This mindfulness and all is some abstract concept. It's not for me. Instead, focus on how you can take it. Small daily practices. And once you get into the habit, you can start overcoming all the challenges. I think you're going to become a lot healthier, lot happier. You're going to come back and tell me after 15 days or 1 month, hey, you know what? After 17th November, listening to you, and I started small daily practice, I feel much, much happier. And you will have better relationships with your colleagues, with your family members, with the children in your class. Children already love you so much. But if you're able to give them that mindful 35 minutes, you're going to have utmost love from all your little children and be blessed with a very, very happy life. Summing up, Adi, you want to sum this up for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we thought that we'd convert some of these into like mindfulness mantras that you can just always remember, note it down, of course, so that you can keep this at the top of your mind. Take some of those informal practices that Chitra mentioned, right? Be it just mindful eating, which doesn't take much time at all. Maybe just doing your brushing of your teeth in a more mindful way. So just a few quick activities that you could do to kickstart the mindfulness process. You can also then think about how you want to schedule time for more formal practice, which could be something like gratitude journaling, for example. It could be something about breathing exercises. Make it a part of some of the systems that you have currently, even within your school. Chitra talked about having it with your students at the start of a session. You could even make it a part of your teacher meetings where you have a certain time allotted just to spend time on a formal practice of mindfulness. One recommendation that I have is that before you go to bed at night, think about and reflect on this point of what was I grateful for today. We had an entire session on gratitude, and this is just one way of trying to get you down that process to really understand the power of being able to actually think about this in a deeper sense. And of course, consciously try to make an attempt to not multitask and instead say that, okay, I am going to devote my time and energy on doing one task really well, right? Focus on deep work towards one task. So it's about the quality of the work that I put in, which I think will go a long way.
I just want to add here that task can even be like, somebody's coming to talk to you. And tell yourself, okay, this is a task. Listening to this person is a task. So body also, right? Keep away your phone, keep away your devices, your notebooks, etc. Listen intently, look at the person with eye contact. It can make a huge difference to you and the other person. I can say that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just want to end. Thank you, Adi. I think the mantras are so useful. I also want to end it by saying, don't think that this is a huge concept. Oh, she's talking about breath and meditation and all of that. I don't think I can do that. The importance of small steps, figuratively, you see that here, right? If you're sitting with big steps, you may not be able to even climb up the ladder. But when you have smaller steps, every day, one activity, every day, increase it incrementally, you'll suddenly see that your life has transformed. Thank you for all the lovely words in the chat. So many people have made my day end beautifully today. I'm so happy that many of you enjoyed, and thank you for your thanks. And I wish you all the very best. We'll again meet. I'd love to meet you again and check on whether some of you or most of you have started practicing mindfulness. To me, it's a game changer. It's a life changer. So I request you all to try this from today and make your life the most beautiful. Don't depend on external circumstances to give you happiness. You have it within you, and you can become a very, very happy person. I can see that in my personal experience, and I want each one of you to become a happy version of yourself. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chitra. Thank you to all the teachers who joined us. I'm sure that this is the starting of a new journey. Just a reminder, as always, a lot of the key points that we've discussed are available on the Padlet board that we have created for Wellness Wednesdays. So please do take some time to visit. You can see here that session 7, The Power of Mindfulness, is up. A lot of the mantras that we discussed, a few practices to get you started, some videos for you to watch and learn more about are all available here. So do visit the link. We'd love to hear from some of you. And until we meet for the next Wellness Wednesday session, do take care of yourselves. Your own wellness and well-being is of the utmost importance to all of us here at Chrysalis. So thank you so much. And from the entire team, take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.